second part of what we're doing is the property further to the west, which is a much larger property with 300 feet along Lyman, and it's got a back piece down to Comstock. It's 100 feet wide. It's about 52,000 square feet, and it's all been consolidated as 250 West Lyman. And all of that property right now is zoned single family. You could build 8 single family houses on it, 8 50-foot lots out of that 400 feet of frontage that you have. And they are asking to have the property rezoned to R3. R3 zoning would potentially permit as many as 20 units on the property if you could site plan and fit that number on there. Our code requires that you present a plan that can show a prospective use of the property. You want to get something zoned, well, show us how you think you might use it. Unfortunately, at this particular time, we don't have a concrete plan like we do for the Grand Chapel. We don't have a specific plan for this 250 West Lyman, because while it's under contract to David Weekley Homes, they have not finished their site planning yet, but their goal is to try to get the same number of 16 units as you see represented on the plan. This plan that you have before you doesn't necessarily meet code. There's some variances that would be required. Really, it's kind of immaterial because you are not approving a plan tonight. And that's something that P&Z struggled with a little bit, and then they became clear at the end that they were not approving a plan. It's a straight zoning, really a straight question of, are you willing to increase the density from 8 homes to the potential for 20 townhomes or apartments? We have made a commitment over the years to try to preserve the residential nature of this community. This is a large piece of property, over an acre, and of course we don't know what's going to happen to the Blake Yard to the south. And so staff was enthusiastic about getting something built here, because if we get something built here, then we form the edge, because there is residential on this property, and we don't have to worry that later we're going to be asked to rezone it to office or some other non-residential use. So you did have a staff recommendation for approval, as well as one from P&Z. The issue that we spent a lot of time at P&Z on was the Blake Yard, because what's going to happen with that? Should that be part of this? Should we wait to see what the City Commission does at the work session about the Blake Yard, etc.? That's why you have a dissenting vote other than a unanimous, because of that timing issue. If you did not want to do the R3, if that was too much density, the R2 would permit roughly 13 to 14 units on this property. So that's kind of the choices you would have, but you do, as I said, have a positive recommendation from P&Z on what was requested. So with that, answer questions.
Questions of staff?
I'm not in favor of rezoning the rest of that and make it more density. I like it single family because the single families across and all around it. So I'm really not in favor of doing it without a plan. I know you're asking us to rezone to R3. I can't do that tonight.
I do have a very similar feeling about the single-family zoning in that area. And the problem with talking about it as an edge property, Jeff, which staff keeps doing, is all we're doing is moving the edges. We started talking about the Denning property as edge property, and that was on the west side. Now we're on the east side. We're talking about the edge properties, and what's happening is we're just moving that edge closer in. So I take a little, the edge aspects of it are a little concerning to me.
Commissioner McMacken? You were going to speak next. I interrupted Commissioner Cooper, so.
I just heard her say we're concerned about the edges. Was there other comments?
Yeah, there are, as a matter of fact. And the other thing for me is talking about vision. We have an opportunity in Winter Park that very few municipalities have. We have an asset. We have small lots, single-family homes in walking distance of a core. And while these homes are improving and evolving, the fact that we would have single-family homes in walking distance of a downtown with this, in this day and age, is something that other communities don't have. And it's an incredible asset for us that I think we should be actually branding and hoping to bring young professionals and empty nesters into a nice development that's in walking. And then I look at the history, and you know, you've got to go back to the CRA plans of 94 and 99, the comp plan of 91 and 209. We have consistently in our comp plan discouraged upzoning on density for this area. And if we're going to change that, we need to change it as a policy, not one at a time eating up the edges of the community. So I'm supportive of single family.
I struggle as you do going anywhere past that with anything other than the existing R1A zoning. That is a single-family neighborhood. I don't see 35-foot tall townhomes as any kind of transition from anything to single-family, and I'm not on that page. And I can't, with you, I can't do anything beyond single-family for the rest of that. That's what's there, and that's a great opportunity.
Jeff, may I ask you a question? What physically is there, not what is it zoned for today?
What's physically there,
Yeah,
nothing, is all vacant that we.
yeah, so we're not preserving a neighborhood, it's already been knocked down, so.
You're talking about just,
Well,
no,
talking
there's a
about-
house on eight,
Well,
there's a house. There's two
So
houses.
physically show me what's on that property today.
You know, they knocked down a house in my neighborhood, and the lot sat there empty for a long time, and we didn't put townhomes in there because there was nothing there. We put a single-family home back in there when the time was right. And
3,
just
4, and
because
5
there's
are empty.
nothing there now
It
doesn't
has
mean
two
there won't be
structures.
something there. That's, you know, there's nothing there right now. They're empty lots. It's a great development opportunity for single-family homes.
Just on 3, 4, and 5. On number 8, there are 2 structures.
And that are unoccupied.
They're unoccupied now, okay?
But my point is, and you know, whether it is or isn't residential is important, I think. If it was such a great place for single-family homes, there'd be single-family homes there. But apparently it's not. I mean, we have to look at market demands. What we wish and what the market demands are two different things.
But that was a choice of the person that owned the property. People on an adjacent road choose to use those homes as single-family homes, and they are still single-family homes. The only reason these aren't single-family homes is because the person who bought them tore them down.
So Commissioner, you're aware of people that would buy that property and put single-family homes in there?
I am, yes.
You are?
Absolutely,
You should put them in touch with the developer, with the people that own that property.
absolutely. It's all a matter of what the property cost.
Well, but
But
you just hit
absolutely.
on that, and I think that's to the mayor's point, is, you know, we sit here in an ideal world and say we would all like everything to be single-family home, but the fact of the matter is if nobody's interested in developing those single-family homes for the market price, then it's not, then it's a fantasy land. And believe me,
But we
this
don't
doesn't
say
mean I'm crazy
everything.
about R3,
Yeah.
because I'm not crazy about this. I talked to Jeff about this earlier today. What gives me a little bit of comfort is you're never gonna get 20 units on that site. And again, I don't love it, but I'm saying we do sit back here sometimes and say, we want single-family homes, but when there is not the marketability of single-family homes,
And see, I don't know that I would concur with that.
And Ms. Briggs, since I thought before, how tall can I build a single-family home on that property?
30 feet tall.
30 feet, so it's between 30 and 35 is what we're talking about here.
Right, but I recall Windsong, for instance. When we put those single-family homes in Windsong, there was a group that really wanted to put townhomes in there. And those, we had letters from the homeowners, from the developers, from everyone saying, You don't put multifamily homes next to single-family homes.
And I'm sure we have that on the Carolina on downtown Winter Park too, where we put, somebody put, I don't know how tall the Carolina apartment condo is, but that's obviously in a single-family neighborhood. So somebody, those were single-family homes at some point and became that. So, I mean, things evolve. I mean, I guess you could look at any property.
And what do
The
we want it
difference
to
there
evolve
is
into is the
Windsong by the
question.
Wind Commissioner was agricultural and went to residential. This is not an evolution from a farm to houses. This is not a evolution from this was a little taxi stand, I guess, at one point.
Only one place was a taxi stand.
A
All
very
the rest of
50
this was
feet.
not, it was residential. I didn't like the concept of us saying that we're gonna create an edge. Because you already got an edge, it's called the railroad tracks. It's very clear. All you gotta do is look at it and you see the edge. And so if we're talking about creating an edge, we're talking about changing the rules to all these families. Look at 12 through 22, they are all single-family homes. Look at this here, they're all single-family homes. So what we're doing is we're moving it over and we're impacting those people, and I just don't want to do that. I just think that's wrong. For me, morally, I would have a hard time. And I keep looking at it, I drove over there, I got out, I walked around, and I thought, what if this happened in my neighborhood, okay? What if this happened in my neighborhood to create a new edge? And I would just be fighting it tooth and nail.
Since this has
Yep,
come to us.
I would move to deny on both ordinances.
You can only do it on one at a time,
I
please.
move to deny on the request of the ordinance on number 1, amending the comprehensive plan. I also move to deny the ordinance amending the official zoning map.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Applicant wish to speak?
Dan Belvos, 558 West New England Avenue. A couple points. I appreciate all the comments. And I apologize actually for not contacting the commission. One of the frustrations is I know I've been here several times and I've been denied and or sent back to P&Z because the comment was, we've got this advisory board and we want to use them, and if you can't get through them, we're not going to hear it. And here I get a 6-to-1 vote in favor, and they really analyzed this thing. It was an hour and a half, 2-hour discussion, and the only one dissenting vote only had to do with the Lake Street property. She wasn't even against it. So then here I've got this P&Z board recommendation, and then I get, the comments. The point is just simply a dysfunctional piece of property. The home is 0.9 from the property line, from the train property line. When I acquired it because it's the point, and it was going to be a vacant something, part of something else. It wasn't the wooden house that's there. It is simply a dysfunction. If that house burnt down, I don't believe I could build back on it. It's a dysfunctional lot. The lot next to it, the city got over $800,000 in code enforcement liens from Mr. Ellis. He used to be a locksmith and he ran a mechanic shop out of it. That's the second piece. For 30 years or some odd, it ran up $800,000 in code enforcement liens. He passed away, and my contract is with his widow. The piece next to it is zoned PQP. It was the Winter Park taxi stand, and then did become, and simultaneously, actually, the Western Union. It still has the hydraulic jacks in the ground where they service the cars. So right there, we're not starting R1A single family. Then when you talk about the rest of the land, I actually don't think I tore anything down, but I've been working in that neighborhood since 1989. And if I did, I assure you it's because it needed to come down. I collect rent. I'm in the rent business. If I could, and I have many single-family homes in the west side that I rent. And if I could build a single-family home and either sell it or rent it, I would have done so. The structures that are facing Comstock, the city has me demoing them. The permits are already in hand. The 2 permits, there's a third, and if I could remodel them, I would, but they're completely infested with termites, and I'm going around trying to save the one tenant I actually have, and I've offered to pay their deposits, their relocations, and do everything I can for them because they've been my tenant for 15 years. They only paid $300 a month, you know, and that's what I can get out of it. We talk about an edge, everybody's got their opinion. I don't consider an edge a train track. I don't know of somebody that would take commercial, New York Avenue, a train track, and not think it would be proper planning for a community to create a product of multifamily or something other than R1A, and then transition into your single family. I barely made it out of Winter Park High School, but I have learned a lot since 1989 on how to develop property. And it's simply from experience and what the mayor suggested, what the market dictates, what the market wants. I have found it to be very interesting since '89. Clearly the neighborhood has come out and opposed me all the time. But you know what's been the trend? The next time I'm up here, the person gets up, well, what he did was actually pretty nice. It was great, but I don't want him to do this. That's happened 50 times. Every time they get up, well, okay, yep, what he did, it was actually nice. But no, we don't want him to do it again. Oh, but he did it again, oh, but it was nice. Lyman Avenue needs to be cleaned up. And the compatibility issue isn't what's there. I've said it before. Have you noticed the corner of Virginia and Lyman? I'm not putting anybody on the spot, but I had Winter Park Police come to me, want me to take the trees down so they could sit in the parking garage and film the drug deals. And I took that tree down, and they're filming the drug deals. That is not an ideal corner. It is probably the most horrific corner in this city. That is not the compatibility we want to go to. It is a fluke that I was able to negotiate something with my lender to find a builder who has just finished up quality product in Baldwin Park and needed some product, and they were willing to build. I mean, to whatever my standard might be, I said I want underground power, I want a 10-foot sidewalk out front, I want live oaks down the street, antique street lights, and though you might be able to do 20, my restriction on them was 16 or less. And not apartments. These are townhomes with a small grass courtyard with a brick wall in front and a gate, and they're just beautiful. And you set the trend. And quite frankly, Commissioner Strinkle, you know, I got denied on the deal I was trying to do on Denning because, you know, I want to know what the rest of the street was and what's going on. A fact is, this is Lyman, train track, commercial, New York Avenue, and clearly these first 3 lots are not R1A. And what I wanted to do is, while David Weekley's building these townhomes and fixing up the sidewalks and undergrounding, I want to start building this stuff at Lyman in Virginia, and now you're really setting something. I own vacant lots right here. I own a house right here that I'm remodeling right now. I've been trying to rent that house for 10 years. I have written probably 5 letters to the code enforcement department. I can't rent my 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath house with double car garage because of what's next door. The city doesn't do a dang thing about the cluster of 4 houses and all the drug deal. I came home the other day and there's a guy in my Jeep with his feet hanging out, stealing my stereo. We chase him. Winter Park Police come, bring the dog. Guess where he goes? Right into that place. And that's where they run every time. But we're going to not approve me, something that I've spent 15 or more years thinking about what can we do to make something appropriate. And all these stars line up with the bank and the developer and someone who's got money, the developer. And that money is what was going to pay off my loan, allow me to move the church, put some money into the right of way and do all these things, that is just gonna make it nicer for Hannibal Square. You know, I hate coming off of I-4 on Fairbanks and Lee Road, you know, my own hometown, because it looks awful. And I don't like coming down Fairbanks going into where I live, which is New England Avenue, and it looked like hell at Lyman in New York. Right, so I'm rambling, but I really think if I had the time and really just explain all the things, you know, I'm with you about this R1A. I assure you, I'm not ruining Hannibal Square. You know, it's turned out to be my life and what I'm doing. The city came to me, I don't know how many years ago, they wanted me to put the post office here. And they wanted all this parking. This was some option that the city came to me to try to get me to do all these years ago. And then, notwithstanding, the city owns this. Nobody's out there telling them. Actually, the best thing that ever happened was the electric department coming in there. They cleaned it up. I mean, the city used to go in there and dump dirt. And then all that dirt go over all the, you know, people next door, which was my tenants. And I think if you would really take a look at it, put some conditions on us, 16 or less, agree that, I mean, you get to review it all, that we come in with exactly the product that I'm talking about. And I think the neighborhood would love it. Thank you.
Hello, I'm John Schofield. I live at 358 Victoria Avenue. I'm not sure how this works. I have several houses in the area, and this is the map of the west side that I've taken out of the zoning. And this is what I kind of think of as the southern residential area. This is the northern residential area, and they're really full, as you know, of small lots and small houses of a variety of flavors. There's dilapidated houses that are termite ridden that need to be torn down. There's little block houses. There are honorable people that live in small homes. None of us probably do, but there's a lot of people that live in 1,000-square-foot homes. And they're not here, they're not vocal, they're not educated, they're not deep pockets, but they're residents and they live in our community. And contrary to what the developer said, a lot of these houses actually can be turned around. They just can't be turned around at the profit levels that are available if a commission approves upzoning. If you'll only upzone my property to a 10-story building, I could make a lot more money, but you probably won't do that. So I think that these areas should be allowed to be retained as they are on R1A. And I think the strategy of buying old properties and not maintaining them and let them fall apart, like the one Mr. Bellows mentioned, he's been remodeling it. Well, I've seen tar paper on the roof for a year. I don't know if that's remodeling or neglect.
No comments, please.
So it's kind of like rezoning by neglect. Buy 5 houses, ignore them, let drug dealers and prostitutes live in them, have all these violations, then we need to tear them down. Then, oh, by golly, you know, the only thing I can do now, because they're a bunch of crap, I have to rezone it to make it worthwhile. Okay, and so I think they should find a way to make R1 work. I think that's perfectly possible.
Thank you. Thank you. Other citizens wishing to speak before us? Close the floor for public comment. Any other further discussion? I'm concerned about vacant land, even if it's in quota residential neighborhoods. Concerned.
For me, I have a concern about, we've heard a lot of things that could be done there, but we don't have any plan for that. We don't have any picture that talks about this. We've been asked tonight to take this single-family area. We've actually been asked to do 2 things simultaneously. One of them really requires the other one to be done, and I'm not ready to do both of those without more work. I'd like to see some homes in there. I'd like to see R1. The furthest I could ever go would be R2. I can just tell you that from sitting here, because I drove all around there and I looked at all those houses and I saw what we've done. And certainly Mr. Bellows has done a fabulous job on redoing all this area, and I appreciate it. My mom's now at the garden and I walk the area all the time. I love what's happened over there. I'm not able to get through my abilities changing these R1 house, lots right now. And I'm a little disturbed about the City of Winter Park's property there, right with it, because I want to make sure that we get whatever it is we need to have happen there. And I want it to work together, but I don't want us to start thinking that we're gonna do something, and that's what I hear, okay? The city's gonna do this, or the city's gonna do that. And we just have to be careful as a city that we don't start doing those things. That's what we used to hear about in this town. We're trying to get away from that. So, I guess it all just has that kind of a smell to it.
Well, the smell I don't like is vacant land, even if it's in a residential neighborhood. So, I mean, we could zone it probably anything, and if the market ultimately doesn't bear that, it's immaterial to whose return on investment. At some point, there's a reason why those things happen. I'm not saying they're good or bad, it's just economics.
I think if you have a quality developer like Weekly Homes, who's willing to take this shot because they think this will work, when we've looked at vacancy on the entire street. And as I said, I'm not crazy about R3 on it either, but we're getting, as Dan said, he's willing to go to 16 or some other number. You know, here's something that's happening over there. I think it would be wonderful to drive down that street, to drive down New York on a Saturday, and be proud of the thing that's sitting across from the farmer's market, which draws people from all over the region to our city, and they park in front of a dilapidated old house that needs to be gone. And the idea of having the chapel there, blending into some probably beautiful homes that David Weekley's agreeing to put up, sure is a lot better for me than what's there now and what has been there and what history has shown us is around there. So, I don't know.
It has a site plan.
I think we're missing a great opportunity.
Well, how do you know what Weekly's gonna put up? You don't have any plan, you don't have any idea, you know you're already
We would
doing.
have to.
I know we can limit them to, I know we can.
Yeah.
Line. If this property was a block north, it'd have been commercial ere long this.
You know,
So the argument that we're preserving residential by R3 or R2 or R1 doesn't hold to me, because it's just a strip of it. It's just a really sliver of it.
It's
All the
it's
yellow
2 blocks
are-
wide. Take
Well,
a
and
block
Mr.
in the middle and a half a block on either side. It's a 2-block swath of single family that runs all the way out to
Keeps on going.
Denny.
Yeah.
It keeps on
Starts
going.
right here,
And-
keeps
and
on
you-
going.
And you chisel out that area next to the gray, and you say, let's make that something else, and what you do is you then thwart anything around that for being single family, then you draw the line out there, and you just chip away at it.
But I don't.
Thank you. I think we also, you know, we sit back here and we struggle all the time, and we say we have these advisory boards. Commissioner Sprinkle, I appreciate that when you came forward with your recommendation from the Martin Luther King Task Force, you know, you were very adamant about, we send these boards out there to do their duty, and then we just totally deny. And here we have P&Z with a 6-1, and the reason the 1 wasn't there was simply because of the city screw up on the Blake Yard. I mean, what I'd like to do is see if this motion fails, if the motion to deny fails, then I will make a motion to approve with the site plan presented, so that we'll only allow up to 14, which is on the site plan. I believe, did we count to 14? Is that when we counted 14?
There's 16 shown on there.
There's 16, I saw 14, I'm sorry.
But you have to take the 2 side buildings that butt up to the city property with no side yards, so, I mean,
Right, it's 14 of the townhomes.
and so that you would know, I cannot support that, because the plan shown here requires more variances than the lakeside plan we looked at earlier. There are setback requirements that aren't met here. It's pavement,
Well, our row houses.
that's roof and asphalt
May I ask
on
a
this site, and that doesn't fly.
May I ask a professional question? Are row houses compatible in a residential community? I don't know, because that looks like a row house to me. Is that what that would be built there?
Is that what the site plan, that's kind of what he's showing.
And you need R3 to build row houses?
Or R2.
You are too?
R2 works, but you just have to obviously build less. And I told you 14, it's actually 13 is the math. This was R2,
R2, you get 13.
13.
I can support R2 and 13. I can support that. but I can't go higher.
Further commission discussion? Let's have the clerk read the roll.
Hold on just a second, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
The
Commissioner.
motion, I just want to make sure I understand what I'm voting on, it's been a while. The motion is,
You like to hear the clerk read it, so.
or who made it, who,
Motion
anybody.
Instead
For
of
both
R3,
R2 on the L
R2 on the L property only. In both the comprehensive plan and then the other piece to amend the official zoning map. Clerk read the roll.
Commissioner O'Leary,
Yes.
Commissioner Sprinkle,
Yes,
Commissioner Cooper,
No,
Commissioner McMacken.
No.
Mayor Bradley.
Yes. And then the first reading of the ordinance amending the official zoning map to change the existing single-family R1A district to R2.
Commissioner O'Leary,
Yes.
Commissioner Sprinkle,
yes,
Commissioner Cooper,
yes,
Commissioner McMacken,
No.
Mayor Bradley.
Yes.
I have a question before we move on, and this is a legal question, I'm not sure. My understanding is that if the comprehensive plan says that it is low density, then the only compatible zoning is R2. So my question is, after I have voted no on a comprehensive plan change, am I, in order to be compatible with the comprehensive plan, am I put in a position where I should vote yes on the R2 zoning, even if I'm really not in favor of the whole thing? I want to ask you soon enough that I can change my vote, because the only reason I vote yes is because I understand,
Feel
I
free to
understand
change your
that.
vote, Commissioner, if
I-
you like.
I know, I understand, I just want to
I know you
understand
want to be
the,
consistent.
I want to understand the law, that's
Is
all.
R2,
This is a fair question. I want to understand. If we have voted to approve a comprehensive plan change that changes something to a future land use category that only has one compatible zoning to it, yeah, am I then sort of, does it then become a quasi judicial thing which says that I now should vote yes for the R2?
Not
It's
on
just
the
a
first
question.
reading.
Excuse me?
Certainly not on the first reading, because it
No.
hasn't been done yet.
Okay.
and I think you voted against it.
I understand, then I'll change my vote to no, thank you.
Then you voted for the ordinance change on the second.
Right,
second.
and it was because I thought that that was a requirement if there was only one compatible zoning district. Okay, well then, I'll never do that again, thank you. I would like to change my vote to no.
Which vote do you want to change? Because you voted twice, so I don't know which one you want to
I
change.
voted originally no on the comprehensive plan change, and then I voted yes on the zoning change. I'd like to change my zoning change vote to a no.
Okay, it still passes 3-2 then. We're going to move to city commission reports.